And welcome back to something new on the channel. House of the Dragon. Game of Thrones. What?
Game
a
of
stream
Thrones is
about
back?
this?
2022?
What? 2022, 3 years later? What?
This
So
is
for
happening?
the fall, there's going to be a lot of shows that we're going to try and cover on this channel. So to remedy that, we're going to try something new, which is just right after the episodes drop, which is right now. If you are watching this live, House of the Dragon literally just finished like 10 minutes ago. We're just going to talk about it for, 20, 30 minutes, or if it goes longer, it goes longer. But yeah, House of the Dragon, episode 1, the Heirs of the Dragons. What did you think right off the bat?
I loved it. Loved it. Loved
it. I did too.
I was actually extremely surprised. I'm going to say that I thought it was great. I have a lot of thoughts, but just very good episode. Very good episode.
I thought this was like the best episode of Game of Thrones I'd seen in a while, and I was like, wow, I was stunned. I was like, what am I watching? How am I? It engaged me. It made me feel things, which I was, especially with how the last couple of seasons went. People are pretty used to being dejected with character choices in Game of Thrones, and everything was just like, whoa! It was firing on all cylinders.
You're right. You're right.
Spoilers here.
Spoilers, of course.
Obviously, the spoilers for the episode. Like the scene that's intercutting between the jousting and Emma giving birth was insane. I was like, oh my God.
So perfect. Fantastic.
So good. So good.
What's up, Anchorman? What's up, Gambit Productions?
Dimes, yeah.
Dimes.
It blew me away that I was enjoying it as much as I was.
Yeah. So I think for me, like first 5 to 10 minutes, I think was maybe a little jarring because I think it looks pretty different than Game of Thrones, at least shot a little bit differently off the bat.
This is not David and David and Dan. Yeah.
So there were some growing pains early on, but I think I latched onto the characters very quickly, like in just a few scenes, I really understood everyone and was invested.
Rhaenyra, especially the casting, I was like, wow, they were able to find someone who felt in the same vein as Daenerys Targaryen, but not her.
No, it's not Daenerys at all.
I know,
it's just a lot more more Arya than anything to me. In sort of if you were to compare it to a Game of Thrones character, she looks like Daenerys. They all sort of look similar.
I didn't expect nearly as much connectivity to the original show either. Especially hearing the themes again made me a bit that gave me the chills, with a fresh start, so to speak.
The outro music.
I was like, yeah, this is just seeing King's Landing for the first time with the
and I think definitely
fresh.
They'll move away from that. I think further into the season. Probably. I think just going into the first episode, you're gonna need to do some callbacks, and even in that initial text on the screen, they let it fade away, and it's just
172 years before
Daenerys. It's
Daenerys Targaryen. Yeah,
you heard about this person.
Well, especially because with the way that's framed, I mean, the Targaryens are literally the Skywalkers of this universe. I mean, they are the most important family.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that sort of angle to it at the end there, with the name dropping A Song of Ice and Fire and Aegon and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
that was so fantastic.
Whoa! I was like, whoa, okay.
And to me, the fact this is episode 1 is really amazing, because as much as I love early Game of Thrones, it sort of takes I think a good amount of time for it to get really into it. And I mean, even as the first episode of Game of Thrones is sort of just hanging out at Winterfell. You get a brief sort of look into Daenerys going over to Khal Drogo, but it's very limited as to the scope here. And I think in this first episode, we just
covered a lot of ground. And I think there's a lot more to see. They're sort of teasing at the courts with I'm not going to do great with names, but they're talking about sort of the Daemon,
the clam wrecker. Oh no, they're talking about
the crab eater,
the crab feeder. Yes,
the triarchy, I think is what they were saying. The islands
just
united,
setting up something that sounds crazy that I'm interested in. And I think they'll get to that, but this sort of felt very much like a build up for
I hope
Rhaenyra's story.
Well, the thing I've heard about though with the show is that we are going to be jumping time a lot. We'll be staying with some of the same characters, but not necessarily the same actors. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about that so far. Because Matt Smith, let's talk about him. Matt Smith is just killing it. He was eating up being a Targaryen, Daemon Targaryen. It
Absolutely.
it felt like I knew the character already just from his first
It
look
felt
sitting
with
there
all
on the
the
throne. I
characters.
was like,
Yeah.
wow.
And I think
Impressive.
Game of Thrones has always sort of done that. I think when they bring in a new character sort of later in the show, and some actors just are made for Game of Thrones.
For it.
It's like Pedro Pascal showing up as Oberyn, just felt like he belonged so quickly. And yeah, Matt Smith specifically really owned that, I think, early on. Yeah, Matt Smith is just a great actor, as Dom said, in Doctor Who, and Morbius. Fantastic.
And Morbius.
That scene where he's dancing in the mirror.
He was pulling. Honestly, he pulled a lot from his Morbius performance here.
I would say so.
This was more Morbius than Doctor Who.
You're gonna want to go watch Morbius before watching this.
Yeah, it's a spiritual predecessor to this show. But the other big thing is, obviously, as you see on the thumbnail and the background I threw together here, which is just our thumbnail. We know that Rhaenyra can't ever sit on the throne, and the big setup of this episode is the king has heirs, or his wife and child die, which was, as we said, just a crazy sequence. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. But Rhaenyra gets named the heir officially, but we know that can't happen, and that to me was like, it's like bad things. Bad things are coming down the pike for
not many happy endings. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because Game of Thrones got mostly a happy ending.
Weirdly.
Boo. But yeah. No happy endings. I mean, we know. Well, I guess we'll see. But definitely setting up something. It's gonna be pretty emotionally devastating, I would say.
This episode
was Rhaenyra, I'm sold. I like this character. I'm rooting for her. Even though I think there might be some incest stuff going on with her and Daemon.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know. I was like, ugh. I was like, I got the vibes too. I was like,
no, that I'm quite sure. I'm pretty sure even that they might have talked about it at some point in interviews or something. I think I remember hearing about this, but there's something going on there in classic Targaryen and Game of Thrones fashion.
So yeah, a ton of the world building though, because it opens with the scene of the previous king picking the heir, and so you have at this point there's the Valyrian family who's married in, but Valyria is gone. That's like the black guy with the dreads, right? He's the husband of the other woman.
Exactly. Yes.
Who could have been the first queen. So there's that guy. I love Rhys Ifans, who's playing Otto Hightower.
Yeah, Hightower.
Awesome name.
Great character.
Awesome name. Yeah, listen, Hightower. Just the Hightower family as a whole.
Hightower family already cool. Interested.
I'm like, very, very cool. He was delivering great performances. I don't really remember many other of the council. There were just sort of generic. I am coin.
Yeah, there was the Maester.
I knew who the archetypes were.
Classic Game of Thrones Maester.
Yeah, I knew who I was looking at when I saw them, but I don't remember their names yet. They're not really sticking out.
It's hard with these names.
But Hightower, especially, hand of the king. I was like, okay.
Otto Hightower stuck with me for sure.
He's a schemer. He's scheming. I don't know, but he also seems like a good dude. That's what I was most surprised at. That Viserys seems like kind of a good guy, as compared to the other monarchs that we've had in Game of Thrones.
He's I would even reckon actually he might be just the nicest king we've seen so far in any. I really think about who sat in the Iron Throne,
because for us we have Robert Joffrey, Cersei. I mean, Daenerys obviously didn't end up so well,
and then Bran, but we didn't really get to see Bran. So.
Well, yeah, does that really count? I don't know.
No, boo.
Yeah, boo.
I mean, there's a lot more episodes for him.
Tommen, technically, if you count Tommen, but I don't really count that.
I actually don't know if he's going to die sometime soon, because
he
has something going on with his back, and we see him cutting himself again on the throne at the end of the episode. He keeps
cutting himself.
So not sure what's going on there. I haven't read this book, Fire and Blood.
Yeah, I own it. I haven't read it.
So I don't know exactly how related they're going to be. I mean, season 1 of Game of Thrones is basically just the Song of Ice and Fire, pretty much scene for scene. So, as far as I know,
man, when they were talking to the just massive dragon skull, we saw skulls in Game of Thrones, but none that size, right?
Visually, just the whole.
It was just the whole thing was stunning. I was just, oof.
Once again, the costume design really stuck out to me. The funeral
The
scene,
funeral, yeah, it was the funeral.
Like I thought all their costumes just looked amazing there, and just like classic Dracarys, old Daenerys callback. Just good.
It was
stuff.
good. The whole thing was good, and I just can't get over the fact how much I enjoyed it. Like the feeling of this universe is back, and if this continues to deliver, which hopefully it will, I don't know, and this new potential Jon Snow show, who is a Targaryen himself, that's like sort of something they talk about. Like he says, like when the winter comes, when that long winter comes, a Targaryen has to be on the throne.
Yeah.
To defeat it. And if from a certain point of view with Jon and Daenerys, like that's you could argue that the Targaryens did the heavy lifting through, if it's by blood, of stopping the White Walkers and stuff, and leading the human race through that winter. Is that right? I mean,
yeah,
you think that's true? I just is that foreshadowing, or was it like, nah, this prophecy won't come true? Because I feel like I was like, I don't know, that sounds like it happened.
I mean, Bran is king for the foreseeable future in like canon, so I don't know idea where Jon.
But in terms of the long winter, like
do we think the long winter is even like? Does it happen after the White Walkers are defeated? Is it just winter without the White Walkers?
Yeah, I feel like
we don't really like see that at the end of Game of Thrones. Like everything seems.
Yeah, they kind of fumbled that ball where it was winter it's like, oh, winter is coming for like 10 years. But then the White Walkers got defeated, so I guess winter's no longer coming. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know. I don't even know why we're talking about. We're back 200 years right now.
Well, just because the show was so good, it made me want to reevaluate the future of the universe, because it made me care about the universe again. Like that opening moment, man, when Rhaenyra is walking through the familiar set of King's Landing, like that courtyard that we've seen so many times, and you hear the music playing. It's like, this is just. It felt such a fresh breath of fresh air as a start. I was like, man, and there's no baggage holding us down. We're going. And Damon taking off at the end with his dragon. I mean, I doubt he's going back to the Vale, right? So what do he's got to try and kill his brother, right? I mean,
I think that's where we're headed. And then we're gonna get a tough, relationship between him and Rhaenyra after he's trying to go and kill her dad. I don't know. I just like it's set up, and then who can say where it goes from here? Because Game of Thrones always sort of kept you on your toes. I feel like you never knew what could happen. I mean, half the cast could just die in an episode, at least early on. That's what happened in Game of Thrones. So
it's true, and we're in that era where I am nervous for every character.
Exactly, and like that's like what was so great about Game of Thrones, which they sort of lost that. I feel like the further in they got.
And Dime's asking, does House of the Dragon have great VFX? I thought so.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, they've been talking a lot about how like the dragons are going to look a lot better than Game of Thrones. And I mean, I thought CGI was. I wasn't blown away, but I thought it was good.
It's good.
Definitely better than like what like Marvel's been doing. So
yeah, I had that thought when there's a couple of shots where I'm like, damn, TV can look like this, huh?
Yeah, and keep in mind we're getting Rings of Power in a couple of weeks, and that's probably going to look absolutely bonkers. So I
know this is going to be that's why we're doing these streams with these quick streams, because there's just going to be so much to talk about. The scene with the Kingsguard going through the street, the costume design.
Oh yeah. See that such like early on really captured that like Game of Thrones like grittiness and violence. And I was thinking up to that point everything was pretty tame until they just get out there and chopping someone's manhood off and showing it to us, and just like the arms and just like the decapitations, just like right back into it. Very, very brutal episode, especially when the fight breaks out at the.
I know, dude.
The joust.
When he axed that guy's face, one of the knights just axed another one, and you just saw it. I went, oof. What's up, Chad?
We're back to it.
Good to see you here. We're just talking about House of the Dragons. There's so much that was filled within this hour. I will say that I want to talk about more, but that C-section when they're taking the kid out, just grueling, brutal,
hard to watch.
Yeah, hard to watch. Dude, when she starts to like, she sees the knife, Emma, and she starts to realize what's going on. It made me a little bit like a little emotional. It was just late game.
It was edited just like amazing,
so well,
amazing the way that it's just intercut and thematically.
But the show hasn't made me feel this way since season 6 of Thrones.
Sure.
In the way that something, just a moment, a character moment, and the editing could bring me to a point to care. Whereas, later Thrones, one of the biggest complaints was like when it became like the fast travel complaint in season 7, when like people just like teleported beyond the wall and like teleport back, and the action was so well done and you were attached to the characters, but just the way it flowed started to take away from your emotional connection, just because it felt more superhero-y. Like when what was Ned's like half brother name, like Gendry, not Gendry, but his name, he died and became like a half White Walker guy, but when he shows up swinging the fiery the fired mace, and it's like, what is happening? Like that was such a like superhero moment. Like,
you're right. No,
it pulls him out of the water. And it's like,
one of my favorites is that towards the end of the Battle of Winterfell, when you see Sam getting attacked by like 8 White Walkers, and he's like under all of them, and the next scene just like, okay.
Yeah, that it was,
because like that could have been such a powerful scene with Jon like running past like his best friend, leaving him because he has to like save the world, but just not executed well. I don't want to turn this into like a Game of Thrones like hate stream.
Well, no.
But the quality of this show is already like,
it just feels better. I don't know how to. It feels better, and
it was written very well. And it's a great introduction to like what's to come. Like everything's set up like fantastic pilot. I would say.
I loved seeing the Starks, the Baratheons of the time. Do we know about that character Tristan or Kristen? He was sort of like the faceless knight who beats Daemon.
Was sort of asking about.
Yeah. Like I don't.
Well, he does. He does take off his helmet.
I know, but like off the top of my head, and then they go, "Oh, he's Dornish." He's from some house that I didn't recognize.
Yeah,
he's Christian.
Well, they said it's from like the Cole house, and she's Cole. Like, I haven't heard of that house before.
Have you ever played the Game of Thrones Telltale game?
No, I have watched people play it before. I watched like the playthrough of all of season 1.
Really good game, but it made me think like, is that something from that's like such a deep cut? But I didn't recognize it. But that's a new character who I was like, okay, I wonder where this is going. Because his fight with Daemon was, and that sort of 3-act structure of Daemon. He's like hyping himself up. There's sex scenes, and Matt Smith has talked about sex scenes. This is Game of Thrones, so he's hyping himself up. He's like all sad, and then he's ready for the fight. But then he loses it. He's back to the pleasure house, as they say, and it's just that arc of that character. Like he felt a lot like Dany's older brother in season 1. It was named. Wasn't he also Viserys?
Yeah.
Is he named after?
What? I think it's Viserys. Yeah.
Varys? No. Varys. It's very well.
No, Varys.
Because Varys is the eunuch. Yeah, Varys is
man, there's so many.
All these damn names. You know who I'm talking about.
The guy who like swallows like liquid gold and dies.
Yeah, he gets golded.
He gets golded.
That guy. He feels like that guy, and it's unsettling. And I don't know what he's gonna do. Like the moment, Star Wars reference here, when he's watching the council, like Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones over like the Separatist Council, like when he's looking through the window, it made me, just because someone like that.
Yeah, and I thought that was just a great scene.
It was a great scene.
The council or the court, and them just arguing.
But when he's watching, like you could see the gears turning in his head. Like, how can I manipulate the situation? How can I, gain power? And then when he's like, his brother's like, you got to get out of here. Like, you literally celebrated the death of my wife and son. Not cool, dude. You just felt, because Matt Smith is doing such a good job. It's funny. We made the joke about Morbius, but it is kind of similar to his Morbius performance. Just the way that Matt Smith can get across underlying rage and a broken mind. He can just sort of like get it across with a look, and seeing that in a Targaryen in the context of the show, it just makes me nervous because I know he has the capacity to kill a lot of characters, and I'm like,
what do they say? Every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin.
Yeah,
that's the saying from Game of Thrones.
His armor was so cool too.
Yeah, with like the dragon wings and just
so
like
cool.
His horse even had the like drip.
And that shot when he's getting dragged along the railing.
I really like the like point of view shot of the joust when they're
joust.
I just think overall they did a good job like of how like brutal and like visceral the duel was, or the joust, and just like it felt impactful. I was watching it on my big speakers.
So yeah, I got the vibe that there was something going on between Rhaenyra and Daemon, but I also got the vibe that there was something going on between Rhaenyra and Alicent, Hightower's daughter. So
I did too.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, because obviously love triangle, but obviously did Hightower like send his daughter?
Yeah,
I was like, well, that's kind of sus, man.
He was definitely sending her like to go and please the king.
The king. But I appreciate not only did they not go that way, but that the king was like what?
Yeah,
he is so over so much of this stuff. And it goes back to the comment about how he thinks he's like the best monarch we've seen in this universe so far, even though he's probably done some pretty bad things. The way he treats people is just miles better than anything else we've seen. And I love that
most of the kings we've seen would have taken advantage of that. Like
he's like building a castle too.
It reminds me a bit of Tyrion when they sort of like send Sansa in to go and
a little bit
make the marriage, and he's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, a little bit of that vibe. But the fact that Hightower sent his own daughter, I was like, in his like recently his dead wife's dress. I was like, it's kind of messed up, man.
A lot going on, like a lot of just sexual undertones, as always, to Game of Thrones. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see how that's all going to play out, because like there's a lot of like they didn't really go into any like specific relationships, but it's clear that's going to be a thing moving forward.
There's some stuff going on. There's stuff going on. It's the House of the Dragon, baby. The Targaryens are back, and they're ready to play. And I don't remember in my head. I don't think in the history of Game of Thrones, this is like a relatively peaceful period in my head. So I don't know how much
it is. Well, they said it's been peaceful for like 60 years.
So I don't know if we're gonna get any huge battles in that way, in the way that Thrones brought us about.
I hope we do, because I love the battles, but we might. I don't. I mean, like, I don't. I mean, we can assume this is gonna be a multi-season show. I mean,
well, Game of Thrones, I don't know if it's been renewed, but I do know, and this is something we talked about earlier, that there will be. I mean, I haven't watched like the next week on, but I paused it on a frame that is our boy, the king, like 30 years older. And I think we're going to be doing some time jumping in the show, up generation. So characters can, these plots can move faster, because it's kind of tough when you're talking about, 13 and 14-year-olds being like, oh, you're going to be king. And then it's like, okay, are we going to wait 6 or 7 seasons like we did with Tommen in Game of Thrones? Probably not, because I think they're moving at a faster pace. But we'll see. We'll see. Overall, though, what would you give this first episode out of 10?
9 out of 10.
I too would give this a 9 out of 10. I'm trying to think of other things we can talk about. I thought the music was a little understated, because all the music that I recognized was
I agree. I was actually hoping for like a sort of a intro. Like, I love the Game of Thrones intro. I don't know if maybe in the next episode.
Maybe I haven't heard that it's a thing. Press has seen more episodes than us, and I haven't heard that that's not really a thing, but it could still happen, because they also in those press episodes cut out a lot lot.
The music will come. I thought that the outro music was great, even though that might have been just from Game of Thrones. I couldn't tell, but it's still cool. But overall, I just want to say about the show, I think over the past few months, we've been hearing about all these like new Game of Thrones shows in the horizon, and everyone just has the sour taste of season 7 and 8 in their mouths. And like, this show needed to be good to rebuild that trust. And like, I think it's one episode in. I won't speak too soon, but this was a fantastic,
pretty good step. A pretty good step.
Pretty much already, I was like, okay, obviously they know what they're doing, at least early on. Like, they're not gonna screw it up from the start. So now I'm like very more excited at the prospect of a Jon Snow show, and I'm excited for the rest of this show. I can't wait for next Sunday.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And next Sunday we will be here around the same time to talk about that episode. Leave your comments down below about what you thought of House of the Dragon episode 1. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we pressing that we have to say. I don't think so. This was a pretty character focused, slow episode. It's slow relative to, like it's not the Battle of the Bastards. So, no. But if you're interested, I say I'd recommend this, even if you're not like Game of Thrones fan. Like, check this out.
You could watch this without.
You could watch this.
Game of Thrones.
Maybe you'll get into it, and hopefully you can join the discussion. But so far, I think off to a pretty good start. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.
Podcast tomorrow.
Podcast tomorrow, coming out tomorrow. All right. Bye, everybody.